Protesting farmers have forced Keir Starmer to abandon a construction site visit.
A fascinating conversation between a Conservative MP and Keir Starmer in a high-stakes dispute at this Tuesday's PMQs has sharply highlighted the future of Britain's farming sector, which has been the lifeblood of the country since time immembered. This is more than just another parliamentary dispute, it's a showdown highlighting underlying conflicts over policies likely to permanently destroy the fabric of rural Britain. The divisive question of inheritance tax on family farms at the core of the storm is one that detractors believe will choke an industry so firmly ingrained in UK society that its loss would be nothing less than a national disaster. Please like and subscribe for more videos on UK politics before we start the video. The conversation started when a Conservative MP seized the chance to directly question government policies. The MP remembered how the farming minister had casually told a convention of farmers that farming was not high in the pecking order for this government, just the day before. The MP asked with obvious outrage,
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the farming minister told a conference of farmers that farming is not high in the pecking order for this government. Given the heartless family farm tax, is his minister correct? Yes or no?
This pointed question was meant to elicit a straight answer regarding the government's dedication to the agriculture sector, an industry many regard as the foundation of the country. The proposed implementation of a 20% inheritance tax on family farms, valued at more than £1 million, cuts right to the core of a debate long simmering in rural communities: heartless family farm tax. Family farms have been passed down for centuries with little to no tax burden. This legacy has helped them to grow. Now, many worry that the very existence of these farms, along with a beloved way of life, may be threatened by the punitive tax introduced. Keir Starmer responded with a practiced but pointed reply.
Farming's top of the agenda as far as I'm concerned. That's why we put £5 billion to support farmers in the budget. They failed to spend £300 million on their watch on farming, and we set out our roadmap, which has been welcomed by the NFU, as she very well knows. It was described as long overdue. I wonder who didn't do it before.
Starmer's answer initially seems meant to reassure, asserting that farming remains a priority by mentioning a £5 billion support package in the budget and a thorough roadmap that has received compliments from the National Farmers Union, NFU. Beneath the surface of financial stability, though, is a story of lost possibilities and misguided priorities. Emphasised by his rhetorical query, "I wonder who didn't do it before?" Starmer's diversion to the flaws of the former government functions as both an attempt to assign responsibility and underline his own government's corrective actions. For the future of farming in the UK, though, what does this trade actually mean?
The inheritance tax is a tax what would tax the farmers 20% of their income. So you have to think 20% doesn't sound really much, and everyone would say, we all have to pay inheritance tax, but that's not the point. So when you say a farmer has to pay 20% of taxes, they do the math on the property and on the value of the farm. So that
we put a huge amount into. We put £5 billion into farming over the next 2 years, and food sustainability. It's hugely important to farmers.
On the streets? Why are they there?
Fundamentally, the argument over the family farm tax is about survival of an institution that characterises rural Britain, not only about numbers or finances. Family farms are stewards of a legacy that has moulded the British countryside for millennia, not only financial vehicles. Many consider the possibility of subjecting these farms to a 20% inheritance tax as equivalent to cutting the very lifeline of rural areas. Many families would be forced by the tax to either sell off or divide their ancestral grounds, therefore destroying the continuity that has maintained British agricultural customs for many years.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that politicians would lie. Vicky, it sounds to me, from what we're hearing over the past couple of years all throughout Europe, is that this is a globalist agenda to just shut down these family farms. You saw it in the Netherlands. These farmers have to be incredibly frustrated. They're working for such little margins and they're trying to feed the world.
Yes.
The larger background in which these arguments are occurring adds to the explosive nature of the situation. The minutiae of agricultural inheritance tax seem shockingly limited at a time Britain is facing global challenges ranging from the increasing influence of power players like Trump's America to the pressing need to mend frayed ties with Europe and address ongoing issues like interest rate increases and tax reforms. Critics contend that the government is ignoring enormous problems with far-reaching effects for national security, economic stability, and foreign relations, while it is busy perfecting policies that impact a rather small portion of the people.
The Labour MPs representing farming communities should be hanging their heads in shame.
For many, Starmer's obsession with the farming question reflects a more general leadership failing. Starmer is happy to participate in debates that, albeit emotionally charged, reflect a little slice of the nation's concerns rather than focusing his resources on addressing these major urgent issues. The internal turmoil inside the Labour Party, which shows by the regular turnover of MPs and a lack of coherent policy, aggravates the issue even more and presents a picture of a party disconnected from the actual issues of the country.
This stupid tax, poorly thought through, based on prejudice and bad maths, will damage Britain's farming communities, and that will affect absolutely everybody. We all eat food. These are the people that grow that food. And if we drive them under, then it will put the cost up for everybody. The Labour government have got to recognise how foolish they've been. They've got to reverse this before they do irreparable damage to farming communities across the country.
The suggested tax adjustments have major financial ramifications for the farming industry. A 20% inheritance tax might be disastrous for many family farms financially. It would probably force farmers to sell their land or liquidate assets in order to pay taxes, therefore upsetting the flow of family-run businesses and opening the path for corporate takeovers. As corporate entities replace the unique appeal of family-run agriculture, the degradation of autonomous family farms would have a domino effect on rural economies, resulting in employment losses, dwindling local services, and homogeneity of the countryside.
Have you ever seen this many tractors, let alone in central London of all places? They are all here to have their voices heard strong and clear to this Labour government that their tax raid on farming is going to undermine that model of British family farming. It will undermine food security. It will undermine the great British produce that we've all come to know and love. So I'm on these farmers' side, and I hope Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, because you can't miss the message that is being sent today, start to listen and reverse the family farms tax.
Culturally, the influence is likewise rather strong. Celebrated in art, literature and national culture, farming is fundamental British legacy. It represents a close relationship with the ground and a dedication to uphold customs defining rural life for millennia. Many see the strict tax rules imposed on this sector as a betrayal, a cruel disrespect for a business that has not only fed the country, but also fostered its spirit and identity. Dramatic tractor demonstrations that have brought entire areas to a standstill, and other demonstrations highlight the strong emotions at work and the general opposition to what many consider to be an attack on British legacy.
There you have it. Sir Keir Starmer said a new relationship with farmers based on respect and partnership. So tell me this, Prime Minister, why are there a convoy of tractors parked on your doorstep? Are they there to pay allegiance? I think not.
Deflection by Starmer and its consequences. Going back to the PMQs exchange, Starmer's answer is dual-edged, even if it seems comforting. On one side, he points to a significant financial commitment, £5 billion in help for farmers, as proof his administration is giving the matter top attention. Conversely, his dependence on bureaucratic jargon and his attempt to pass blame to the past government do not help to allay the ingrained worries of the agrarian population.
They are in the battle of their lives, a battle to save their farms, a battle to maintain their heritage, and a battle to protect British produce. All opposition parties are, for once, standing together to support the farmers and reverse the evil inheritance tax. Sir Keir has made a monumental mistake in enforcing this nasty tax on farmers. The farmers' protest lives on.
Starmer seeks to contrast his proactive approach against past passivity by stressing the failure of the previous government to commit £300 million on farming. But his rhetorical flourish, "I wonder who didn't do it before," comes off as contemptuous to those who view the current proposition as existential threat. Though welcomed by the NFU, the promise of a roadmap for farming does not help to allay the worries of farmers who believe that the proposed inheritance tax will finally make it impossible for them to run and expand their companies. Starmer's answer essentially exposes the discrepancy between political pledges and the harsh reality that surround us.
Unfortunately, the Prime Minister's woken a sleeping lion, and farmers don't like being lied to. We can only be lied to once, and we won't give up.
They have put 560 odd million, to benefit farmers abroad, to produce food environmentally friendly so they can ship it back into this country to go against our industry, as in prices. So it makes no sense. Charity starts at home. Get this government back in British agriculture. We are the people that can produce this food. I went to the Churchill Memorial yesterday into the museum, and I'll tell you something, that man will be turning in his grave listening to what this government's doing.
This stormy interaction is microcosm of a more general national conversation on what counts most in modern Britain. On one side are the voices of the rural villagers, calling for preservation of their legacy against laws they see as both culturally and economically damaging. Conversely, some claim that a government is giving a limited fiscal agenda top priority over the national requirements. The simple fact that a Conservative MP felt driven to question Starmer on this matter in such clear terms tells volumes about the mounting unhappiness among many who feel excluded by the present political agenda. The protest is a cry for acknowledgement rather than only a response to an isolated policy. A community on the brink is vividly shown by the visual of tractors gathering on protest sites, the sound of horns blaring in defiance, and the heartfelt pleadings of farmers calling for that their voices be heard. They are not only opposing a tax policy, they are also opposing a system they feel has lost the actual ideals of British society. For them, farming is the very centre of the country, a living tribute to a proud, self-sustaining way of life that has persisted for millennia, not only an economic endeavour. The larger political ramifications. Apart from the direct effects on the farming community, this argument has political importance. Voters all throughout the nation are attentively observing Starmer's approach of handling the matter. In a period when national security, foreign alliances, and economic stability are all under great examination, a leader's capacity to handle and solve important problems is critical. At least in light of the larger issues facing the country, Starmer's seeming obsession with what many regard to be a trivial problem could have long-lasting effects on his credibility and Labour's capacity to present a competitive substitute for the present government. This mismatch of goals may cause a perilous public confidence deterioration. Voters feel disconnected when they perceive their leaders emphasising problems that just a small portion of the population finds relevant while neglecting the urgent problems influencing millions of people. Regarding Starmer, his assurance that farming is top of the agenda seems increasingly hollow given the mass demonstrations and obvious economic and cultural consequences of the proposed tax changes. It begs major issues regarding whether his government is really qualified to guide the country through these stormy times. Correcting the nation's agenda. The circumstances demand a dramatic review of political objectives. The emphasis must change to focus on the most urgent problems of our day. As global power dynamics change, economic uncertainty looms huge, and local issues such as tax reforms and interest rates remain unsolved. Though emotionally charged and culturally important, the current discussion over the family farm tax hardly covers the demands of the country. Still, it has become a lightning rod for more general dissatisfaction over government inactivity and mismatched priorities. Critics contend that the government should be funding forward-looking measures that modernise the agricultural industry instead of trying to correct what they view as an antiquated system of agricultural inheritance. This entails promoting sustainable farming methods, welcoming creativity, and establishing conditions whereby family farms may flourish in a worldwide economy. It also requires tackling the internal turmoil inside Labour, where regular MPs' dismissals and a lack of unified strategy have left many doubting the party's capacity to run efficiently. A call for visionary leadership. The aftermath of this PMQ's conversation is ultimately a call to visionary leadership, that which can strike a balance between the demands of modern government and the preservation of legacy. As the opposition leader, Keir Starmer has to show that he can transcend limited budgetary discussions and handle the difficult reality Britain finds today. The future of the farming sector in the country determines also its cultural legacy. Voters are seeking leaders who realise that the heart of the country beats in its rural areas, the fields, farms and rural towns that have kept Britain alive for millennia. They want laws that not only safeguard these important industries but also include them into a more general national revitalisation plan. This means for Starmer transcending defensive rhetoric and presenting a clear, all-encompassing vision for the future that balances the necessities of the contemporary economy with the preservation of a beloved way of life. With its harsh exchanges and focused attacks, the transcript from this Tuesday's PMQs captures a turning point in the argument for Britain's future. It exposes a harsh reality. The ideas of inheritance tax by the government could very well destroy a sector that embodies the core of the country. Simultaneously, it reveals a leadership crisis, a neglect of the enormous problems of our day in favour of laws running the danger of alienating important groups of voters. Rural Britain is unambiguously clear. The survival of family farms and the preservation of a national legacy is non-negotiable as tractors scream in protest and voices rise in rebellion. Reorienting priorities, tackling the urgent problems that really matter, and rebuilding trust among people who feel left behind by present policies can help Keir Starmer and his government. Every choice taken in this high-stakes struggle for Britain's soul bears historical significance. The path forward calls for visionary leadership that welcomes the customs of the past as well as the demands of the future. Should Starmer fall short of the challenge, the repercussions might be considerably more significant than a minor policy error. They could indicate the disintegration of a way of life that has shaped the United Kingdom for millennia. Unquestionably, the future of British agriculture, and with it British identity, hangs in the balance as the argument rages on in Parliament and on the streets. The country watches, waits, and demands responses, answers only from leaders ready to put the needs of the nation first and to save the heart of Britain for next generations. Make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing content.